Welcome in. Jesse Schule here from jesseschule.com. It's the NFL kickoff show, Friday, the 1st of December. And I've got three special guests joining me today. And they're all pretty excited because last week on the NFL kickoff show, something happened for the first time this season. The challengers took me down. I went 0-3 on my own show. All three challengers got the win. It was the first time I went 0-3. It's not going to be the last. That's the way gambling works, and I've been around for a while, so I know all about it. But we got three special guests again this week. Two of them that you're quite familiar with. We got Rycape from the Insiders Room, and as of December 1st, he's joined me at jesseschule.com. So moving forward, you can get all Tom Macrina's picks. You find him. He's at Rycape on social media, Tom Macrina at jesseschule.com, and our good friend Joey Tron. He's a good fella. He's one of us, Joey Tron. He's also at jesseschule.com as of December 1st, and they're both back coming off of wins in their last appearance on the show, and another guy making his debut here on the kickoff show, and that is Amadeus Mastrangelo, also known as AM Plus Money at on Twitter and on social media, and you will find him on the Insiders Room and also at Big Al's. I will bring in our first guest to talk about the Falcons and the Jets, and I'm going to talk to Joey Tron about this game. Joey, how you doing?
I'm living the dream, Jesse. Feeling good. Got a win last week. Didn't even need the points against the Chiefs, but how you doing?
Yeah, everybody wants to rub it in this week. Well, boys, I'm pulling out some dirty tactics here this week. But before we get started, Joey, do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll let you go first this
All
time.
right. So my dirty tactics are an old veteran trick, if you will. It's December now. It's the middle of winter. And we got dome teams playing on the road, outdoors, in the elements. And that's usually a recipe for disaster. And I'm looking here at a home dog, the New York Jets. Nobody wants to bet on the Jets because, let's face it, whether it's Tim Boyle or Zach Wilson, they don't got a quarterback. Guess what? Atlanta doesn't have a quarterback either. Desmond Ritter, I don't know how you could be inspired by his 1,900 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 8 picks. He's already lost his job once this year. And he's facing, let's face it, a very, very, very tough Jets defense. And, the Jets don't have a ton of wins, but they've got twice as many home wins as Atlanta has road wins. And the teams they did beat, some pretty quality wins. They're the only team that beat the Eagles this year, and they beat the Buffalo Bills as well. So I just think this is a really good spot to take the Jets in a home game against a team that one of the few teams in the NFL that doesn't have a big advantage at the quarterback position, and you have that home field advantage in winter weather at the Meadowlands in New Jersey. And apparently it's going to rain heavily during this game, cold temperatures and rain. So what say you, Joey? Do you think that's going to be no problem for the Atlanta Falcons?
Yeah, so I don't think it won't be an easy one, and I don't think this game will be pretty either. But I do like Atlanta here. Jets have come into this one now losing 4 games in a row by a combined score of 109-37. After losing 3 straight and then having a week off with their bye, the Falcons secured a win against the Saints, and they look like a revitalized team. They are now tied for first in the NFC South, which is actually pretty crazy to say. Anyways, Tim Boyle, he looked like a deer in headlights against the Dolphins. He threw 2 interceptions and he got sacked a total of 7 times. The Falcons have a really good rush defense. They're ranking first in rushing touchdowns allowed, and they're ranked second in red zone touchdowns. The Jets really don't get to the red zone that often, so I really like the Falcons to get within this number here and cover the spread. But not only that, the Jets are going to rely big on Tim Boyle here, and I really don't like that. Brees Hall is looming as questionable with a hamstring injury, so I'm really not sure he's going to be 100% for this game on Sunday. Jets have some holes on defense. There's no denying it. Like I said earlier, this game won't be pretty. Road teams failing to cover the spread in 3 of their last 4 games. the Falcons, and they happen to fall in this category. In December, are 17-9 against the spread the last 3 seasons. The Jets are 5-11-1 against the NFC against the NFC the last 3 seasons. Give me the Falcons in this one, even though it won't be pretty.
All right. Well, yeah, I mean, betting on Tim Boyle, you have to have some cojones for that. But I will say, I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's going to be better this week than he was last week. And I know that's probably not saying much, but I have some faith that he'll be a little bit better this week. But Joey, before I send you backstage, why don't you tell everybody what you got going on, how you've been doing of late, any big winning streaks, and of course, tell them where they can find you, which is at jesseschule.com.
Yeah, you guys can find me at jesseschule.com under Joey Tron. I got 2 college basketball games up tonight. I got a college football total up tonight. I also have 2 college football games up for tomorrow for championship weekend. I'm looking to have a few more college basketball plays up by the end of tonight. Doing all right in college basketball, not the best, but overall, I'm on a 56-35 all sports run that's dating back to the middle of October. So we're definitely winning. If you want to get on that winning streak, come find me at jesseschule.com.
All right, Joey. Well, thanks for dropping by, and we'll see you in a bit. Right. Successful start at jesseschule.com. You're on fire, man.
Yeah, I'm pretty hot. November was a great month for me. I'm hoping to keep it up in December as well.
Yeah, well, I'm going to do my best to cool you off right here because you have not had a lot of success picking against me when the games involve the Pittsburgh Steelers. Isn't that true?
That is correct.
All right. Well, we're maybe 3 times will be a charm for you. Do you want me to go first or do you want to go first this time?
I'll go first. But like you were saying about the Jets, nobody wants to bet on the Jets. Hold my beer. Nobody wants to bet on the Cardinals. I'm going to tell you why, though. So, obviously, Pittsburgh offense looked good last week. They gained over 400 yards for the first time in 59 games. I kind of feel like that was a one-off. You know, Matt Canada got fired. They want to do well for their new coordinator. But they were only 1 for 4 in the red zone. I think playing the bad Bengals defense was a product of that as well. But even after good offensive showing, they still had trouble finishing drives. Arizona, on the other hand, looked awful in this loss to the Rams. Obviously, the steam was coming in from the overreaction of both teams last week. Offensively, Cardinals are 10th in the league in rush yards per game. Arizona will be smart to run the ball. Murray didn't look rusty since returning. And I think Arizona will look to slow down the Steelers' pass rush here. Statistically, these teams are similar. The Cardinals' defense has allowed just minus 3.9 yards per drop back on passes when they have pressured the QB this season. That is the best in the NFL. League average is 1.6. So I expect this defense to get after Kenny Pickett. The Cardinals haven't won a game on the road yet, but they don't have to. I don't expect Pittsburgh to have a scoring outburst. We'll likely see them score under 20. Their defense gives up 18 points per game. Cardinals can certainly get around 17, which is their offensive average. After facing the Rams, their defense should tighten up. I think they're going to be able to play with this Pittsburgh offense. This also might be a look-ahead game for Pittsburgh. They do play on Thursday Night Football. So I'm going to take the road dog to keep it close here.
All right, Rye. Well, I will counter that to the best of my abilities, and I'll start with the old veteran trick. We got an outdoor game in December. We got a dome team coming in from Arizona to play in Steel Town in cool weather. And, I have the sense that this Arizona team has packed it in. Arizona at their best, could they come to Pittsburgh and compete? I think they could. And Kyler Murray, you mentioned his ability to run with the football. Certainly that is something that Pittsburgh would need to be worried about. One of the interesting stats from last week in the loss to the Rams, those numbers weren't pretty for Arizona, but one stat that I found quite interesting was Kyler Murray, 1 rushing attempt for 2 yards. And that tells me that at this point in the season, the record they have, does this guy really want to be running around, running for his life and laying his body on the line? I think he wants to be more of a drop back passer, stay clean, stay off, not get hit, not take too many hits, and preserve his health for next season and perhaps free agency or looking to move on in a trade or something along those lines. But I don't see him wanting to lay his body on the line and start running around the way we normally see him do it. Alarming, the loss to the Rams. LA ran for 228 yards. They averaged 6.9 yards per carry. And since the firing of Matt Canada, the preview, the first game we saw, Pittsburgh gained 421 yards of total offense. They outgained Cincinnati 421 to 222. You mentioned they didn't succeed. They weren't very successful in converting those yards into points. They certainly have to get better at that. But Najee Harris looked like a beast last week against the Bengals. All indications are that Najee Harris could go off, could be 100+ yards for him here at home against this Cardinals team. The Steelers aren't a team that I normally look to want to cover a point spread, but in a game against a team like Arizona that's probably packed it in for the season in this particular spot, we don't see we see the Steelers under Tomlin. They don't finish with a losing record. They just every year, 500 or better. And in order to keep that streak going, they need to win these kind of games, home games against teams like Arizona. So I'm going to take the Steelers to get the win. You mentioned the 20-odd points. I think the Steelers score 20-odd points, 24 points, say, and I don't think the Cardinals are going to get much. I think they're going to get shut down. So I think comfortable win for Pittsburgh is how I see it unfolding. Before I send you backstage, Ryan, why don't you tell us what you got going on? And I know you're winning because I can see you on the leaderboard, so you can tell us about that as well.
Yeah, I've been phenomenal in college football lately. I've actually won my last 11 posted plays. College basketball, I'm getting hot as well. I'm 13-4 in my last 17. You can find me at RyCape on all social media. Tom Macrina over at jesseschule.com. Come check me out. I'm putting out plays all the time. I got plenty of plays tonight. I have plays for Saturday. I have plays for Sunday, all sports, college football, college basketball, NBA. I do NHL, NFL. So I always got plenty out there.
I think it's fair to say that you're one of the hottest handicappers on the planet at the moment. And that should scare me heading into this matchup, but it doesn't. So I'll send you backstage and we'll bring out Amadeus Mastrangelo. AM plus money. My man, your debut on the kickoff show. How's it feel to be with us here on the kickoff show?
Oh, I'm feeling great. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on today. It's a real pleasure. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, well, as long as you guys don't sweep the board and send me packing with an 0-3 record, I'll be happy about this. But how it works, Amadeus, is I usually let the guests choose whether they want to go first or they want to listen to me first and counter what I have to say. So how about it? Do you want to go first or would you prefer that I go first?
Yeah, I'll kick us off here. So,
right.
Yeah, we got this nice Chiefs-Packers game. The Chiefs are a 6-point favorite. I'm going to be laying it with the Chiefs in this one. Now, the Chiefs historically over the last few seasons, they've had that stigma of, they win a lot of games, but they don't cover a lot of spreads. That tide has been starting to turn this season, though. They're 7-4 against the spread this year alone. They're 2-1 against the spread against NFC North opponents, that one loss coming at the beginning of the season against the Lions. And we all know about Patrick Mahomes' dominance against the NFC just as a conference in general. Well, he's also been dominating the books as well, because over the last 3 seasons, the Chiefs are 11-4 against the spread in non-conference games, so against the NFC. And meanwhile, this Green Bay Packers team, they're a very mediocre team when it comes to covering. 6-5 against the spread this year, 3-2 in their home games. They're also 1-2 against opponents from the AFC West, as they did lose games to the Raiders and the Broncos when they were not playing well. Now, this Packers team in particular, I am not a fan of this year. I was very low coming into the season with the Packers. I don't think Jordan Love is necessarily the answer for them at quarterback. And specifically, if you look at their last 3 games here, so they've managed to win their last 2, but their offense is kind of shut down near the end of the game. In 2 of their last 3 games, they haven't scored a single point in the fourth quarter. And I think that's going to be concerning here. Obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs have one of the better defenses in the NFL from what we've seen. Actually, the defense has been the strength of their team with the offensive issues they've had this year. But I think this is also one, when you look at the Packers' last 2 home games, they've managed to win their last 2 at home. But the wins don't really impress me too much. They have a 20-3 win over the Rams with Brett Ripien starting, along with a slew of other injuries they've been dealing with as a team all year. And even in their last home game against the Chargers, they managed to get that one, but that felt like a game where the Chargers just continuously shot themselves in the foot, as they've been doing all season. Because I don't know about you, Jesse, but nobody I've really talked to would have pegged the Chargers as a 4-7 team this way through the season. So yeah, definitely the Chargers are just a mess. So I haven't been impressed with these Packers wins. And I really think something clicked for this Chiefs offense last week. Up until their game against the Raiders last week, they've been doing this thing where, they get out to that early lead. They score 20 plus points in the first half, and then their offense stalls in the second half, and they do nothing. Well, last week we saw the complete opposite. They got off to a very slow start, getting down 14-0, and then they just went on a tear to win that game 31-17. And I think something has clicked in this Chiefs team, especially after that Eagles loss. This is a team, they've already got 3 losses this season. They've barely lost 3 games over the last few seasons as a team. Last year they only had, I believe, the 3 losses, and then 5 and 4 the year before, the few years before. So yeah, this is a game where I'm going to trust the Chiefs. I know it's on Lambeau Field and it's out in the elements, but the Chiefs also play out in the elements, so I'm going to trust them to lay the 6 in this one.
Yeah, you make some strong points. Certainly the Chiefs are no stranger to the elements. It's not exactly like a dome team coming into Lambeau. But the weather could play a role here just in neutralizing the passing game. The temperatures are supposed to be sub-zero, and yeah, I mean, a little bit of wind, not really much in the way of rain or snow, but in cold weather, often you see the offenses slow down a little bit. It sort of neutralizes the high-flying offenses a little bit, but what can I say about Green Bay? I mean, a lot of the things you said about Green Bay echo my own sentiments about Green Bay, and certainly heading into that Thanksgiving Day game in Detroit, I certainly had the Lions in that game, and it was a rather misfortunate way for that game to unfold. And you can't give Green Bay too much credit, because the Lions really shot themselves in the foot there and just handed that game to the Packers. I will say, though, that Jordan Love, 322 yards, 2 touchdowns against the Chargers in his last home game. I mean, as much as Green Bay's been fortunate, Love still played pretty good in his last few games. So I've been impressed with the play of Jordan Love. I will point out that the Packers, 5-6 straight up. 4 of those 6 losses came in games decided by 4 points or less. So a lot of these games that they're losing, they're still covering if you're giving them 6 points. Home field advantage, the Chiefs, they did have their offensive breakout last week. I don't like to overreact from last week's results. The overall sample size, Patrick Mahomes is playing great, but if his receivers they lead the league in drops still, and I don't know if that comes back to haunt them. I'm not ready to say they've solved that problem. I mean, if they've got these guys that can't hold on to the football. Green Bay went through this actually with Aaron Rodgers and Valdez Scantling and a few other guys on that team that have since moved on. I guess it was the same. It was the same guy that was smashing the locker room after dropping a pass for the Chiefs not too long ago, Valdez Scantling. But so this problem of dropping balls has dogged him for a while, and I think Kansas City. I like Kansas City to win the game. I like their defense. I don't like them to cover a big number here. The Packers have been impressive, and again, it's a primetime game. Bad weather. Wouldn't be surprised if it's a low-scoring game. So I think those points will come in handy. I'm going to take the Packers. Before we bring the other guys in, Amadeus, why don't you let us know what you got going on over at the Insiders Room and how you've been doing of late?
Yeah, so I've had a pretty hot November as well. I'm crushing it across a few different sports now. I'm on an 8-2 college football run right now. I have my Conference USA and Pac-12 game of the month up for tonight, so you can check that out. I'm also on a 8-0 NBA run and 40-26 college basketball run. So definitely having a great season on the hard court. And of course, the lovely sport we're talking today, NFL. I'm 52-36 this season for about 12 units positive. So having a pretty good season in the NFL as well.
Sounds like you're killing it across the board. What was I going to say? And soccer, you do bet on a lot of soccer. Not too many guys in the industry bet on soccer. I'm another guy that is a big fan. What's going on with soccer? You got your eyes on any Premier League matches this weekend?
Yeah, I do have 2 premium plays up for the Premier League, but the board doesn't really. I don't know about you, but the board doesn't intrigue me this weekend. There's a lot of yucky matchups, and I always hate these weeks coming right off the Champions League week as well. Off of such
exactly.
Match day.
I haven't fired away on any yet. I was eyeing up that Newcastle Manchester United match. I wanted to take Newcastle at home, but they're both coming off of disappointing Champions League matches with controversial decisions, and apparently, I'm worried about the health of the fitness of each team. So I'm probably going to pass on Saturday's action. I might try to squeeze out a play on Sunday though. But let's bring the boys back in and see what they have to say.
Oh, back to real football now.
Yeah, that's right. So, Rye, do you have any opinions on these other 2 games that we discussed today?
Well, the one I have a premium play on, but I do want to ask you a question. If you're the Green Bay Packers, we have a good draft class of QBs coming out. Are you drafting a quarterback?
I think so. I don't think I'm sold on Jordan Love just yet. The Packers aren't going to be getting a top 5 pick or anything by the looks of things, so they'd probably be drafting a quarterback in the second round, and you pick up a quarterback in the second round, you groom him to potentially one day be your starter, but you're not really threatening Jordan Love, I don't think, by drafting a quarterback. If you're not using a lottery pick on a quarterback, I don't see how it would be insulting to Jordan Love. So yeah, I think so.
Bo Nix.
I wonder how high Bo Nix would actually go in the draft. But yeah, I think the Packers would be foolish not to draft a quarterback and to just bank 100% on Jordan Love.
I agree.
Joey, you got any opinions on the other games we discussed?
Yeah. Speaking of Jordan Love, I have him for fantasy this week, so I need him to do good.
Okay.
So I hope he hears these rumors.
Well, it's not the greatest matchup, Joey. An outdoor game in December against one of the best defenses.
My starter is Lamar Jackson. He's on a bye week, so I need Jordan Love. I need Jordan Love to. There's no 2 touchdowns. There's throw 2. That's it.
Well, I'm cheering for you. You know that because I certainly don't want to go 0-3 again.
And I don't like Chiefs with numbers like this.
You got any opinions on the other 2 games we discussed?
Yeah, Jesse, you're disrespecting my Cardinals. I'm a huge Cardinals fan here, but I gotta say I totally agree with you. I can't can't touch this Cardinals team. They are trash, but unfortunately, we don't have the next 12 hours to hear me rant about how badly the Bidwells have destroyed this franchise over the last few years. So we'll just leave it at that. Kyler Murray's not the future.
Well, there's one subject that we could talk about all day long, and we'll save this for the last topic of conversation. But the hot topic heading into this weekend, which 4 teams are going to make the college football playoffs? And I think you could pretty much divide this into 2 questions. First, who do you think is going to make it? And second, who do you want to see make it? So I'll start with you, Rye. First, who do you think the 4 teams are going to be? Second, who do you want the 4 teams to be?
I think it's going to be Michigan, Georgia. I think Florida State's getting in. And I think whoever wins this game tonight is going to be in. I think Oregon pulls it off.
So Oregon, Michigan, Georgia, Florida State. So you don't like Texas very much.
No, I don't.
And
no, I think they blow out Oklahoma State.
And are those the teams that you want to see get in as well? Like,
I'd rather see Washington get in. I've been pulling for them all season. So,
well, I mean, they will if they win, right?
Yeah.
So Washington, they're the masters of their own destiny. So I don't think it's there's not really any controversy, right? If they win tonight, they're in. If they don't win, you had your chance. You can't complain too much, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see it be the 4 undefeated teams all in there, if they all go undefeated.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I guess if I'll give you guys more time because I could see Joey's probably still thinking about who he wants to pick, but I'll give you guys my picks. I mean, I think, yeah, undefeated Washington has to go in. I think Oregon's going to smoke them though, and I think Oregon will be in, so that'll be one team. And Michigan, I don't see them losing to Iowa, so that puts them in. The SEC game, though, I mean, I think Alabama's a live dog in that game, to be honest with you. We're going to talk about that more on tomorrow's show, but history tells you that Alabama is a live dog in that game. And I think if Alabama beats Georgia, and based on the comments from the committee, one of the committee members recently said, it's not about who deserves to be in. Our job is to pick the 4 best teams. And I don't think you guys could argue that if Alabama beats Georgia in the SEC championship game, you tell me who's better than Alabama, right? I mean, if you're talking just about the 4 best teams, if that's the criteria, if Alabama beats Georgia, they're one of the 4 best teams. I would like to qualify that by in my opinion, but it's not really my opinion. That's really pretty much that's a foregone conclusion. If you beat the defending champs, you can't, what can you say?
Yeah, so, especially on a 29 game win streak.
So that has, I think, Oregon, Michigan, and then if whoever wins the SEC game, and I'm going to go on a limb and say Alabama wins that game. And then the 4th spot, you got Texas, and you got Florida State, and you got Georgia. So what do you do? If you're going for the best team, I think it's Georgia. But then you have some serious controversy if a 1-loss Texas team that beat Alabama doesn't get in and Alabama gets in. It's hard, if some of these teams, if some of these results come in, it's going to be so controversial regardless of what happens. But I guess in this scenario, I would say Alabama, Georgia, Oregon, Michigan as the 4 best teams. If Georgia wins, I'll stick Texas in there, and it'll be Texas and Georgia, Michigan and Oregon. And as far as what would I like to see, I'd like to see Georgia lose and get left out. I don't believe that would happen, but well, I mean, I think that sounds crazy, right? But Alabama beats Georgia, so they both have 1 loss. but that loss is a head-to-head meeting, so you got to put and the other thing is Alabama is sort of getting punished for having scheduled Texas in non-conference play, right? So right now, when you're looking at their two resumes, you're like, oh, Georgia's better. They're undefeated. But who was Georgia playing when Alabama was playing Texas? Who was Georgia playing when Alabama was playing LSU? Who was Georgia playing when Alabama was playing Texas A&M? The fact of the matter is Alabama played a much tougher schedule than Georgia did. And if they played Georgia's schedule, they'd likely have Georgia's record. So that's one way to look at it. And if you view it that way and you put Texas in, or sorry, if you view it that way and you put Alabama in, you can't then leave out Texas, who beat Alabama and as a conference champ.
So Georgia.
So that I don't think they would leave Georgia out, but that's what I would like to see. I'd like to see Texas, Alabama, Michigan, and Oregon. That's where I'm at. So hand it over to you, Joey. What do you think's going to happen, and what do you want to see happen?
All right, what do I think is going to happen? For starters, I agree with you. I think Bama is 100% a live dog against Georgia. Just one last thing I want to say to that about when you said who are they playing. Out of the 4 ranked opponents that Georgia played, only one of them was on the road, and it was against Tennessee. Every other ranked opponent they had was at home in Georgia. But who do I think it's going to be? I think it's going to be Georgia, Michigan, Oregon, and sadly, I think they're going to give it to Florida State if Florida State wins. I really do. I don't want it, but I think it's going to happen. But what do I want? I want to see Alabama, Michigan, Oregon, and Georgia, and I want to see Alabama beat Michigan in the final. That's what I want to see.
All right. Well, good answer. All fairly logical. I think you guys are really hating on Texas, though. I mean, let me ask you guys this. What is your problem with Texas? So they've got their only loss came in the Red River rivalry game to a very strong Oklahoma team. They were in my mind, they were clearly the better team in that game. They got off to a bad start. There was some turnovers early. They battled back, took the lead. They held a lead until the final 30 seconds, gave up a late score, and ended up on the wrong side of a close game in a rivalry game. That's their one blemish. But aside from that, they pretty much dominated a Power 5 conference with an out-of-conference win over potentially the best, one of the top 4 teams in the country. I mean, how can you so easily dismiss Texas?
I don't easily dismiss them. I was actually on Texas in that Oklahoma game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think if Georgia loses, I guess that they should be in there, but I don't know. I don't want to see Alabama in there.
My whole issue with the whole Alabama-Texas argument, with Texas beating Alabama, it was week 2. It was literally week 2 of the season. And I know it's still a win. It doesn't matter if it comes week 2, week 11, doesn't matter. But I just feel it's so early in the season.
But if we're going to say that, then we can't hold it against Alabama then because it was week 2, right?
Yeah, correct. And